welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Maqbool with you at BTV World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the current political situation of the country post-elections and, of course, the way in which different political parties seem to be forming alliances and the government is shaping up. In yesterday's presser, by 6 parties that have agreed to join hands together in another alliance in a move that is similar to the PDM that was there as part of the previous tenure before the caretaker setup. This is something that we have seen last night as well, with the prime ministerial candidate also being clearer than before, with a tweet by the PMLN's leadership claiming that Mr. Shehbaz Sharif will be the prime ministerial candidate of the PMLN, and of course various other political parties that have joined together to support the PMLN to forming the government at the centre have also given their support, including the PPP, whose leader, Mr. Asif Ali Zardari, is also set to be the president of Pakistan, which is what, of course, the reports have been announcing. We, of course, yet to have seen what exactly is going to be the inclusion of the PPP within the cabinet, and whether or not there are going to be important positions that are going to be taken by the PPP as well, because of the earlier announcement made by Mr. Bilawal Bhutto. There is also, of course, concern with regards to the JUIF, which was not part of the presser last night, and of course has also announced to sit in the opposition, claiming that the elections have been rigged and the ECP's involvement in this is questionable, according to the JUIF chairman. There is also, of course, a call for the PMLN's leadership and Mr. Nawaz Sharif to join hands with the JUIF and form the opposition, of course, something which is contradictory to what the PMLN and other parties have announced last night. At the same time, of course, there have been reports coming in of the PTI forming alliance with MWM, and of course there was talk of forming alliance with JI, who had earlier also announced that they are not going to be forming an alliance with PTI in Cape B. This is going to be something, of course, that is going to be focus of our discussion today, and we're going to be taking a look at what this means in terms of what the setup is going to be like, how the different political parties are involved, and what is going to be the way that the cabinet is formed and what roles are going to be taken up, and how exactly will this then impact the dynamics that the country is also facing. So our discussion is going to be taking a look at the various aspects post-elections, and also talking about what exactly is going to be the way forward. With us, of course, in the studios, as always, for the discussion on this and more, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal. We've also been joined online by our guest, political analyst Mr. Javed Jadoon, and Mr. Nouman Muhib Kakakhel, who's advocate High Court. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of the discussion. I'll start with you, Javed Saab, with reference to what has been going on and how different political parties seem to be joining hands. What do you make of the coalition that has been formed of the 6 parties supporting the PMLN, and what the future prospects of this coalition is going to be?
Thank you very much, Sana. I think the coalition was expected, whatever is happening on the ground right now, as far as the formation of new government in Pakistan is concerned. There's one surprise, maybe not a surprise, that earlier it was believed that Mr. Nawaz Sharif would take over the reins of the government. But ultimately, when the Kakakhel Parliament split a decision on part of the voters, as Nawaz Sharif always said that he would like to go for the simple majority, which is not, of course, not there. And now the burden shifts on Shehbaz Sharif, who has been tried and tested before as well during the 18 months long PDM, which really failed to deliver on so many fronts, but in particular economic front, because Pakistan reached the verge of a default, and ultimately it was definitely preempted. But still,
Right. I'll come back to you, Javed Saab. We're experiencing some difficulties in understanding you, but we'll come back and hopefully it will be resolved by then. Farrukh, with reference to what we've seen last night in the coalition that has been formed, how strong do you think that coalition is, particularly in terms of the number of seats that are required in the National Assembly? Of course, they'll be able to form the government, but will they also be able to have 2/3 majority?
Not 2/3 majority, thank you, Sana. But I think that they will be able to not only form the government but survive also. Let me actually explain this by giving you two recent examples. One, when PTI actually came to power, it was said that PTI's victory or its margin is very little. So such kind of government will not be able to survive for long. But then we saw that it actually managed to survive for somewhere around 4 years. And it was so strong that it took all the other parties quite some time to actually get rid of that government through vote of no confidence. The other one, the other more interesting example is when PTI had actually, after being, actually pushed out of power, they had quit the parliament. Parliament was in one half, and then the rest of political parties, 13 of them, came together. And again, we thought that these people are known to squabble. So will this a coalition survive or not? Because it is going to be very shaky. And then we saw Sana that also managed to survive its allotted full term, that is 16 months. And then another example, the caretaker setup. People thought that because the elections were delayed, there is going to be some kind of change in the leadership of caretaker setup. It did not. The only point that I'm trying to make is that in Pakistan, if once you come to power, it takes you some time to actually quit it or leave it. So I think that it can be very stable, but they are not going to get 2/3 majority because the independents have a lot of votes and they have the capacity to actually keep on vetoing any kind of, or then ready to be wooed occasionally for the constitutional amendments. But apart from that, of course, this is how things are.
Do you think more independents are going to join this coalition?
Actually, this is why everybody keeps on looking at what becomes of MWM and PTI, because even today, 6 MPAs who contested independently have, or at least they had support, or they are said to have support of PTI, joined PMLN. So I think that till the time there is a political body, where the presence of which actually forbids you to cross floor, I think that until that time, these issues will be a concern. But I hope not. I hope that every person, remember Mia Nawaz Sharif's statement on the first day, he said that I want to, and we want to respect everybody's, mandate, including those who are actually elected as independents. So I think that, again, harebrained analysis of our media pundits, that they have suddenly started thinking that Mia Nawaz Sharif, if he is not becoming Prime Minister, he is out of politics for good. If I start telling you how many times people have predicted that, then I think we will not stop anywhere. But let me remind you, he was exiled once by General Musharraf, and at that time nobody saw him returning and coming back as PM, but he did. And then, of course, after Imran Khan Saab's government as well, people thought that he's in jail, he can't come back. Nothing is permanent in Pakistan. Right now it is prudent course of action that they have chosen the one who can actually cobble together a coalition and can work with it.
Right. I think we're back with our guests also. Ms. Javed Saab, can you hear me? Javed Saab, are you with us? I think we're...
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Javed Saab, please finish your thoughts with regards to the...
Yes, I can hear you. Sana.
Please continue. Yes, I can hear you, Javed Saab.
Yes,
please continue on your thoughts with regards to the coalition setup, as you were mentioning earlier. Javed Saab, can you hear me?
Yes, Sana, I think it's a very expected coalition. What else you can have? Because Pakistan Tehreek Insaf, which is the largest... yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Sana, can you? Can you hear me, Sana? Okay. What I'm saying is, it's a kind of expected coalition. No certainty that's going to be a PDM extension of the PDM or PDM 2.0. Can you hear me, Sana?
Yes, we can. There is a delay. Javed Saab, you can carry on.
Okay. And now the question is whether this government can deliver or not. In my opinion, it's going to be the repeat kind of a performance on part of this coalition government as well, because the same old faces and same old policies, unless they completely change the team this time around. Because it's been ironical that every time Pakistan Muslim League N comes into power, or Pakistan People's Party comes into power at every level, whether the provincial level or the federal level, they deploy the same team of ministers who have been tried and tested in the past as well. And the Pakistan ends up with the same imbroglio. My fear and my apprehension is, if they field the same team this time around, and the kind of the challenges we have right now, in particular the economic challenges, the growth rate is expected at 2%, not more than that. Inflation is probably at the historic level, and people are feeling the pain of the inflation as well. You and me, and in particular the middle class, when they go out in the market, they feel the pain. And until and unless they do something out of box this time around, they deploy a different kind of economic team, which can have some out of box solutions as well. The first and the foremost, I think, challenge for the government is going to be to address the issue of historic inflation in Pakistan, which is hovering around 28, 29%. And I think apart from that, the energy crisis is really damaging the industry, and the industry growth has been adversely affected. And the third most important aspect is the structural reforms. If they can carry out structural reforms in Pakistan, maybe in the short term we don't see the benefit, but in the medium and the long term, we can definitely have a very positive impact on the economy. A challenge for Shahbaz Sharif is that he is high on rhetoric and low on action. It is not Punjab. Everybody believed that when Shahbaz Sharif was ruling Punjab, people thought that the famous Shahbaz speed would be reflected at the federal level as well, but we didn't see that. Now coming to the coalition itself, NQM, same old faces, Pakistan, but I think the most surprising factor is Pakistan People's Party has decided not to become part of the cabinet. They would be sitting in the same parliament on the treasury benches, but they are not going to take the cabinet positions. What really is going to happen is all the debris is going to fall on Pakistan Muslim League. And because, Sana, let us keep in mind that the challenges are so massive that it is going to take time and a lot of efforts, rather monumental efforts, to take the country out of the current economic crisis. And foremost, Sana, right, we are going to conclude
right, there's also, of course, reports coming in of Zardari being president once again. Does that also point to the possibility that the PPP might rethink their earlier announcement of not forming part of the cabinet?
I think Pakistan People's Party is definitely eyeing for some of the most important positions. As you mentioned, one is the presidency, and second could be the speakership of the National Assembly, and possibly the chairmanship of the Senate as well, and maybe a couple of governors at least in Karachi, at least in Sindh, and maybe in Balochistan as well. And they would also like to form coalition government in Balochistan. So they are going to have quite a substantial kind of benefits out of this deal with PMLN. But at the end of the day, I believe that it is PMLN which is going to end up as a loser, because they won't have the luxury of saying, well, it is a coalition government, and the responsibility for any failure is going to fall on the coalition. No, it is going to fall on the shoulders of Pakistan Muslim League N. And lastly, Sana, we have been believing that this time around they would do differently, maybe not the dynastic politics. They would avoid fielding Mariam Nawaz in Punjab. They could have a better person. There are so many good people, so many intellectuals in Pakistan Muslim League, and there's no dearth of such people who are politically mature, who can take care of one of the biggest province in Pakistan. But I think we ended up at the same point. At the center, the uncle, and at the provincial level, once again, the same old story. So right, the people's...
Javed Sab, I'll explore that in further detail, but let me also include Nouman in the conversation. And Nouman, while we talk about, of course, the way that political parties are forming the cabinet and the decisions that are being taken, and of course alliances that are being formed, simultaneously, of course, there's also reports coming in that have previously also been there with regards to alleged rigging in the elections, with different party leaders not accepting the elections as free and fair, and of course different constituencies being explored. And so while we are talking about the political alliances being formed, it seems that in parallel and perhaps in the background, the issues of election and rigging continues. So I want to know how do you see the situation in terms of what is going on at the political front, and what really is has happened with regards to the elections, and in terms of the technicalities involved, in terms of it being free and fair or not, and how exactly do you think that the elections actually did happen or were conducted, and how exactly will this then be able to affect the way that we move forward?
We've been seeing there are multiple political parties who are saying that the votes were rigged, and they're claiming that the Form 45 that were issued to them by the presiding officers of various polling stations, they are different from that of the Form 47 that has been issued to them, particularly and specifically Pakistan, PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. They have even created a website where they have uploaded all those Form 45s which are signed and stamped by the presiding officers of various polling stations. And they're saying that the result that have been given to him by the returning officers, or that have been announced by the Election Commission, that is completely different from that of Form 45. But for that, they have approached the election commissions and various high courts of the country, and they've gotten their relief with regard to recounting, rather a re-evaluation of Form 45 and giving a Form 47 once again. And the announcement of the candidates have been stayed, rather stopped by various high courts and Election Commission of Pakistan. But I think with major proceeds that are under challenge, and that they are saying that this could be rigged, there was a big upset with regard to that. Because in the way connecting legal and political scenario together, everybody was expecting the way Mia Nawaz Sharif was brought to the country. They were expecting that a strong government would be made at the center with Pakistan Muslim League as its leaders. But we are seeing that an upset was shown by the people of Pakistan, who majorly voted for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, and they're the same people who are currently protesting on the motorway in various areas of the country. So this is one issue that we are facing, and that is being addressed by the Election Commission and High Courts. The other very big issue that we are currently connecting with legal aspect, constitutional aspect, is that of independent candidates. They took votes on the pretext that they are nominated candidates of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, and now they are defecting, rather going towards other political parties on one pretext or another. They're saying that, okay, this is a better political party. If we form government with them or join hands with them,
right,
we would be able.
Nouman, is that not the right of the independent candidate to do so?
I believe it's not. If we see the Constitution itself, the qualification and disqualifications sections of the members of National Assembly and the provincial assemblies, it says that a person needs to be right. Yes, Sadiq and Amin word is constantly being used in the political sphere of the country times and again, and even in the High Courts and Supreme Court. But I think this is the classical example of Sadiq and Amin here, that a person contests election being nominated by a Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, let's say, and people are turning out voting for that person, that he is a nominated candidate of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, having this constitution and a specific ideology carrying with him, that he will fulfill these promises that are promises of the political party.
Isn't the principle of Sadiq and Amin also in itself something that we've sort of established is questionable and difficult to interpret?
Exactly. It varies from person to person. There are various decisions of the Supreme Court on this as to what Sadiq and Amin is. But we can take, I believe, in my humble opinion, it covers the case of the present people as well. Because the people who have voted for a particular person in a particular mindset and a constitution of the political party, if that person defects from that, if that person goes away from that, he is defrauding the people who have voted for them. So I believe this can once again be invoked by the people who voted for them,
Okay.
that these people have trusted them that on the promise that they would represent this political party and have these policies at the center of his mind, and he would speak them on the assembly floors. So I think people can approach the Supreme Court or even the High Court to protect their fundamental and constitutional right, that this person is defecting from the promises that he had made to the people, not to any political party, to the people, to the public,
All
to the
right.
voters, and now
All
he's
right,
going away.
let me explore this a bit further. Faisal, what do you think about that, especially in terms of what we've discussed pre-elections as well, with the independent candidates having the choice to join one political party over the other? Do you agree with what Nouman is saying?
You know, to some extent, of course, I will agree with the Nouman, because obviously when we talk about the candidates winning an election, it actually is an evidence that people of that constituency have actually voted for him. They have given him their will and what they want for the constituency. And if they want for the constituency to obviously elect an independent candidate who is being backed by PTI, and of course is being backed, and prima facie, you know, there are other things that need to be looked into as well, that whether that person has been you know, elected before as well from that constituency. If so, then who was he standing with previously, and if he is contesting that election very first time in his life and he's winning that seat and still obviously crossing the floor, then it is evident that of course he has used one party's favor to gain the vote, to gain the will of the people, and then now of course he is actually you know, floor crossing with that will of the people. So to me, I think it is a perfect case of you know, betraying the will of the people, betraying the people who have actually voted for him, because the people, they have voted for him for a cause, for an ideology, and if he is going against that ideology, if he is going against that cause, then of course he is betraying his will of the people. So to me, I think this is a perfect case of it, and people who are crossing the floors, to my knowledge, I think they will be challenged by the constituency itself, and the people of the constituency, they will be doing so. And when the cases are you know, getting solved, that is crucial and that is probable. I mean, in coming future, we will see what happens to their seats, whether they are allowed to join, or of course they will be denotified, and of course the re-election would take place on them seats.
With regards to the PTI-backed independence, as Farrukh was saying, that a lot is also obviously dependent on what moves these independents will make. There are of course reports coming in with alliances, possibly with MWM. The JI has announced that it's not going to be forming an alliance in KP with the PTI-backed candidates. So what option do you think will be availed by these candidates, and whether or not this alliance with, say, MWM will be in any way favorable to the party? They will only be getting access to some of the reserved seats for women in KP. How will that help their position, and how will they then be able to stand with these coalition partners?
Sana, very good question. And of course, if we talk about Jamaat-e-Islami's coalition with the PTI, I mean, according to my knowledge, since yesterday, when obviously two of the seats which were claimed by Jamaat-e-Islami in KPK province, they have been actually taken back and given to PTI itself. So that I think it would not be liquidated anymore with the Jamaat-e-Islami. And when we talk about MWM, I mean, there is a larger understanding by all of the political figures and all of the political people who are actually elected or with the favor of PTI, they know that this is a marriage of convenience, and that convenience is that they have to be in the parliament, and they want to claim their fair share of seats of the females, women seats, and at the same time the minority seats as well. What kind of leverage they will be getting just because of this marriage of convenience in the national parliament, that is in the future to see. But I am getting reports that of course it is taking place after the elections, so it might not be allowed for PTI candidates after joining MWM to claim them seats, because reason behind it is that MWM did not apply for any seats before the elections. I mean, this is what I was told today, and I believe
the date has passed.
the date has passed, and that is the basic reason, Farrukh, behind it. And to me, I think it would be quite an interesting situation that if they are still reaching in parliament with the obviously joining party MWM, then still they might not be getting them seats, and they might not be getting them that support in the parliament which they require.
How exactly is this helping PTI's cause?
It is not helping, and that is why I'm saying that still the picture is not fully clear. If the picture is clear, who knows, maybe PTI's candidates, they don't join anyone and they sit in the parliament. If they have decided to sit in the parliament, they will be sitting in the parliament as independent candidates, and they will be obviously all available for any party to get attracted towards later on in coming phases of the political scenes.
Right. Farrukh, let me put it this way. I want to understand, with regards to the PTI-backed independent candidates, is it a better option for them to be joining the parliament as independent candidates, or is it better for them to join the MWM given the current scenario?
No, actually, before coming here, Sana, I actually spoke to 4 or 5 election experts, right, and some lawyers as well. So they were of the opinion that any party which is actually registered at election commission and who had the symbol on the ballot paper, even if they did not get even one candidate in the parliament, you can join that party, right? Independents can join that party. So amazingly, I don't get this fixation with MWM. There's a truckload of such political parties which can overnight welcome PTI's candidates coming into them, and then they can very easily use that name alternatively as their identity. The biggest problem now, I think that the main reason why PTI supported candidates would want to actually join any political party is because they are worried about the structural integrity of the mandate, right? Poaching is something that is openly happening, right? So the moment they join a political party, then their members, it becomes almost impossible for them to flow across, because the moment they do it, they get disqualified. It can even happen now, provided election commission and courts actually support the issue, but I don't know whether they will or not. They have their own reasons, their understanding or interpretation of the law.
But doesn't that also allow the candidates to actually join another party before this merger actually happens? So it gives that room to actually decide and just leave before the party.
Yeah, but once you are in, you don't leave, right? At this moment, because there is this spirit, this sense that various people have been elected and they have the mandate, and that's why they are going to join. So there might be some element of loyalty even now. Okay. So it is prudent to ask them to join one party, come under one rubric, because then there is some kind of administrative control. Having said that, this emotive and principled argument, or for that matter any kind of moral argument being extended, is astounding to me. We are talking about political candidates or MNAs or MPAs switching sides. You're telling me that all these political parties don't sell their tickets? they don't get crore worth of donation once they actually distribute these tickets. If this should be probed, because there is a clear ceiling as to how much money can a candidate spend, and if those people have spent those monies to get into a party or get their ticket, what kind of moral argument is there to actually hold them back, because they have been buying these things, right? And this is the biggest problem. They are poor candidates, and I can see the magic playing out there, but there are rich candidates also. But two more things. Maulana Fazlur Rahman, you mentioned, he said that today there was rigging and all that. Let me ask him very simple question. If there was indeed rigging in his constituency, and if he did not see if he was surprised today, why is it that he tried to offset this blow beforehand by actually contesting from Pashin? I think that it was clear that in DI Khan he is going to lose, and he lost, right? Similarly, this argument that Form 45s and Form 47s, their images are uploaded on a website. My biggest problem is, and I'm not saying that they might not be true, the only humble submission is that if you go back and you keep on following every 2 months, you will see many public or sarkari or official declarations coming out, and then they are being declared as fake, right? So the best thing is for any body, especially election tribunal, to go and open that constituency and see or verify those Form 45s for themselves. But if I'm asked to form an opinion on the images that are there are such great forgery softwares available that will change anything the way you like, and it will be astounding, right?
Farrukh, if you can allow.
Yeah,
I just wanted to give my humble opinion about the Form 45s. I mean, in this context, there is another way to cross-check them as well, and that is that in the same constituency, if there are candidates of TLP bringing the same Form 45s, if there are Jamaat-e-Islami's candidates who have the same Form 45s,
so
then you
cannot spread to different people.
Well, that is another case. Then all of the candidates, of course, would be having the forged one and the same one.
No, but this is my humble opinion, right? This is what I'm saying. The best thing is that there are election tribunals, they go and they open any constituency and they verify whatever you are actually complaining about. That is good. I'm all for it. My humble submission is to form an opinion based on somebody who is actually carrying a paper is not that kind of prudent, because it is PTI that kept on saying for long that there is the possibility of artificial intelligence, forgeries also, and the possibility of deep fakes too. So do you think that deep fakes have just gone on a hiatus right now? They must be around as well. There are people every time. I mean, I remember Long March was coming to Islamabad, and suddenly we started seeing these official looking letters circulating on WhatsApp. And we kept on thinking that perhaps these off days are official off days. And then suddenly we would be actually given a rejoinder that they are fake. And they look every bit real. So why actually take the chance of forming an opinion without the due process? I'm all for due process. Please stay with the due process and ask it to deliver.
Yeah, and but when we obviously talk about the fake documents of deep fake documents, of course, what the system needs to be implementing is that the forensics of all of the documents that need to be done.
Absolutely. Why not? All for it.
Right. Javed Sahab, you can also add to this discussion, but also add to that when we talk about the JUIF and, of course, its decision to move to the opposition benches, it's important, of course, to question the issues with regards to rigging, and then also with regards to why this announcement is being made in light of the press that has already been shared last night, and why the JUIF was not part of it. When even asked by the PML-led leadership, Mr. Shahbaz Sharif, he said that he's going to be engaging in talks, but of course the presser went ahead without his involvement, and now we've seen today that he has asked the PML leadership to actually join him in the opposition in light of the issues of rigging. Why do you think that this has happened?
Sana, please allow me to make brief comments on the issue of independent candidates before I come back to your question. Asana, we need to differentiate between independence and independence backed by a political party, because this time around it is a brand new phenomenon that a political party's symbol was taken away and they were forced to contest elections as independents. So I think there's a huge difference between the independence in the real sense and independence backed by a political party. I absolutely agree with my friend what he stated, that it is kind of stealing the mandate of the people if the poachers go after independence at this particular juncture. Sana, we need to understand there has been a paradigm shift in the society. There's a question of there's ethical, moral, and political questions as well. Because if you start doing that right now, look at the kind of anger and resentment the voters shown in the recent elections. Look at the number of brand new voters which entered into the electoral list. 2.25 crore brand new voters between 2018 and 2024, and on the whole, the voters less than 35 are 5.65 crore. These are the youngsters who are going to define the country's future. If you tell them that their voices are not heard, and if they vote for any particular individual or particular party, and then that particular individual ends up with some other political party, the poachers, I would definitely call them poachers, what kind of impression you are going to leave for them? Let us change the country. For once, I see the election as a societal upheaval, not as general elections. I mean, I have never seen such kind of a reaction as far as the people are concerned. I have, Sana, overseen so many elections in Pakistan as a journalist. I am journalist for the last 35, 36 years. I've seen elections in 2008 and 2013 and 2018, and now 24 is entirely a different ballgame. Please listen to people's voices. Listen to what the young generation is telling the ruling elite of Pakistan. Listen to their voices. I mean, please don't take it as a standalone issue of independence. We are so casually mentioning that the poachers come and take them away. I mean, the kind of impression we are leaving for the youngsters, their voices are not heard, then what options we leave for them? I think there's a huge question mark for those right now at the helm, those who are going to form a coalition government in Islamabad and Punjab as well. Now, coming back to your question, I mean, it is so strange that the losers and the winners, every political party, every political individual, the one who lost and the one who won, are claiming that elections were rigged. I can't understand how it is possible. Pakistan Muslim League leaders who lost their positions, even they are claiming that elections were managed, elections were staged, and they were the people's will and the people's decision was stolen. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, JUIF, Pakistan People's Party, and Jamaat-e-Islami. I can't understand that. What has happened? Everybody is blaming the establishment. Everybody says that establishment managed it, but nobody is, barring few exceptions, Sana, on the whole. I mean, it is kind of a norm in established democracies that when you lose, then you concede as well. But in Pakistan, this time around, there have been some excellent examples set by some political leaders like the chief of Jamaat-e-Islami and Mr. Jahangir Tareen, and even to an extent Mr. Khattak. They were forced to concede that, well, people voted against them. But I think this kind of a phenomenon which we have seen must be promoted by the political parties. Do not sabotage the decision, the verdict of the people of Pakistan. I think this is the only way forward. If you leave the young generation in wilderness, I think the results we are going to get are going to be extremely dangerous for the country.
Nouman, with reference to what Javed Saab was saying, we've discussed the issues of rigging. I want your perspective also in terms of how you think the elections were conducted by and large. If we're talking about how different 2024 elections have been, do you also think that they have been rigged on a scale where the results can no longer be deemed credible? We of course have different reports from different media outlets, even international ones, talking about how there are so many conspiracies and so many allegations of rigging. Is it really on that scale? And we also of course had someone just yesterday on the show talking about how delays, especially in terms of counting and the way that the RO's role is involved, is not something that is anything out of the ordinary, that people need to understand it does take time. Of course, these issues have been cited as concerns by many when they report rigging. Do you also agree with the statement that that the delays that we saw were nothing unusual?
Well, this is not the first time, or maybe Pakistan is not the only country that where elections have taken place and people are not happy with that. Because you see, every political leader and political party have hundreds and thousands of supporters. So obviously, if they are going to lose with a small margin or a big margin, they're not going to be happy with the result, and they are obviously going to blame somebody. So that all that blame is going towards the Election Commission of Pakistan. Maybe I'm not ruling it out that it was entirely rigged or entirely fair. But what I can see from observing elections internationally of every country, especially the developed countries, let's say the election of the United States of America, or even the Russian government elections. People were not happy with that, and the international organizations were calling them rigged as well, getting interference from other countries. So if we looked at the Pakistani elections in that context, by taking all that information and blame game in view, I would say that this is not the first time, and obviously people are not going to be happy. Political parties have been blaming each other, the election commission, establishment, different people. So that can be looked into by the Election Commission of Pakistan, just like my friends here said that the Forum 45 needs to be confirmed with the votes that had been casted in the polling stations there. They need to be seen whether these are forged, whether these are real, and after that they need to be believed into. We have a political crisis. Nobody can say that we do not have it. I would rather call it a constitutional crisis that we have. And looking at the independent candidates, we have the number, the support that they are drawing from the people, just like Jadoon Saab mentioned here, that the young generation, the youth, in majority, they're supporting the independent candidates that are backed by PTI. The only solution, I think, to this political, legal, or constitutional crisis that we have is that the President of Pakistan file a reference to the Supreme Court that happens to be the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, that they need to interpret Article 51 and Article 91 of the Constitution in such a way that this dilemma that has been created due to the loss of the election symbol, and now the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf are opting for political parties to support them in getting the reserved seat, the only answer that we can get is from the Supreme Court of Pakistan, because there are many opinions. Lawyers have their own opinions, political parties have their own opinions, but we cannot disagree on that there is a confusion as well. Even those giving opinions have their confusions and reservations as to how it is going to happen, even if they join a particular political party, whether they can be controlled by the political party they originated from or were drawing their strength from. So the only answer to all this is that the Supreme Court don't wait for any litigation to arise and it goes up to the Supreme Court, but a reference is filed by the President of Pakistan. It is sent to the Supreme Court to use its original jurisdiction to rule out the confusion that is created and that is haunting the public at large with regard to what is going to happen. And God forbid, rule out anything unforgiven, because we are at such a position as a country, as a people, that we are having the worst economic crisis we've ever faced, along with political crisis, election crisis, and now a constitutional problem that we find no solution of anywhere.
Right, absolutely. Thank you very much, Nouman, for joining us, and thank you very much, Javed Jadoon Saab, for being part of the discussion as well. Yes.
Right. Sana, regarding this suggestion, I wish this was extended before the election. I think President could have easily solved this problem through this way, and perhaps Supreme Court could have actually helped. Unfortunately, that window was lost. But when I talk about use of moral arguments or emotive arguments, there are two problems. I don't have any problem with morals. I consider myself a moral man, ethical man, right? I follow laws even in the middle of night. But my humble summation is when you actually allude to emotive arguments, then what increases is heat in the system. People get angrier by the day, and in the end what happens, people get hurt. And honestly, if you think that all of this is about any kind of morality, then you need to actually smell some coffee, or somebody who thinks should smell some coffee, because I tell you, in the heart of all this is only one assumption, that A, either the establishment is not united, or then it is on back foot. Honestly, I assure you, try whatever you want to. Establishment is united and also not on back foot. So if anybody thinks that they can capitalize on this kind of difference of opinion, imagined or real, they are just fooling themselves. So now what is the solution? I agree in principle yesterday, day before yesterday, that independents who came with, by filling the form and mentioning that they come supported by one party, they should stick to that party. And then I'm all for them actually joining another body, or perhaps seeking some kind of clarification from Supreme Court. But then you have to talk about tomorrow and day after tomorrow also. If something has been found and it was actually used or misused or whatever, why not actually prepare yourself for fixing it? Supreme Court gives you interpretation, but it is essentially the laws that have to be written. Right. Are the political parties agreed on this, that they, when the parliament starts, they come together and they make laws that this never happens again?
Absolutely, and that's of course something that we all need to think about. Thank you, Farrukh, and thank you, Faisal, for joining in the debate. As always, we'll now see you tomorrow.